Beneath the restless surface of the Atlantic, where light fades into a sapphire gloom, a wall of impossible symmetry lies buried beneath silt and silence. 12,000 years old. At least, that's what the sonar scans whispered before the data vanished. Coordinates erased, servers wiped clean, and the lead geologist swears she saw the digital timestamp flicker backward, as if time itself recoiled from what they found. The wall stretches for miles, smooth and deliberate, as though carved by hands that shouldn't have existed then. And yet, something about it feels alive. Not ancient, not dead, but waiting. The ocean's heartbeat deepens around it, rhythmic and low, like a drum beneath eternity. The world wasn't supposed to know about this, but the ocean remembers, and tonight, the memory is surfacing. Morning arrives gray and hollow. The Artemis II drifts on a mirror-flat sea, its engines silent, its instruments reset, as if the night never happened. Crew members whisper about corrupted backups and missing timestamps, their voices thin in the heavy air. Dr. Voss stands alone at the stern, replaying the vanished coordinates in her mind, tracing the shape of something that reason can't hold. Somewhere deep below, a current moves with unnatural rhythm, like a pulse under the skin of the world. The discovery was supposed to rewrite history, but now, it's rewriting them. By afternoon, the research logs have been scrubbed, names, depths, sonar graphs, all reduced to empty tables. The data isn't deleted. It's rewritten as though by an external hand. Dr. Wren insists it's a systems glitch, but the way he avoids her eyes tells another story. Even the ship's AI refuses to access yesterday's dive archive, responding only with static loops of the phrase, "Data protected." That night, Voss feels the ship tilt gently, though the engines remain off. The ocean below murmurs, deep and slow, like something vast turning in its sleep. At dusk, a new sound rises through the hull, a deep rhythmic knocking, like stone striking stone. The pattern is deliberate, almost mathematical. Crew members record it, analyze the waveform, and find impossible harmonics buried within. It isn't mechanical, nor marine. It's tonal. As the sun sinks, the sound intensifies until glass trembles in its frames. Dr. Voss closes her eyes and listens. Each pulse feels closer, synchronized with her heartbeat resonating in her bones. That night, the sky fractures into unmarked constellations. The stars shift, subtly at first, then with impossible precision, as if rearranging themselves into a forgotten design. The ocean mirrors the pattern, shimmering faintly with phosphorescence. Dr. Voss records the event, her camera shaking as the lights form a perfect rectangle. The same shape as the wall below. When it ends, the stars return to their normal places, and her equipment timestamps the footage as 12,000 years ago. By dawn, the sea had turned glassy again, but something about its silence felt wrong. Too absolute, like a stage waiting for a cue. The crew spoke in low murmurs, words half-formed, glances uncertain. The sonar array came online by itself at 5:13, though no one had powered it. Lines of code scrolled across the terminal, spelling out coordinates that none of them recognized. Dr. Voss hesitated before copying them. Each digit felt heavy, almost familiar, as if she had seen them long ago. Dr. Wren argued they shouldn't dive again. Not without clearance, but the pull was stronger than reason. The ocean was calling, patient and ancient, and the Artemis obeyed. At 900 hours, the ROV descended again. No one spoke as it passed 400 meters, then 600. The live feed glitched, momentarily freezing on a frame that looked like rippling stone faces. When it returned, the wall had changed. It wasn't aligned the same way. It was closer, sharper, as if it had turned to face the camera. Dr. Voss adjusted focus, whispering to herself that it couldn't be movement, that geology doesn't shift like that. But deep beneath the ship, something had indeed moved, and it was now watching them. By mid-afternoon, the air aboard the ship grew unnaturally heavy, thick with ozone and static. The comm systems began transmitting faint whispers in frequencies beyond human speech. Lila recorded hours of data, filtering it through spectrum analyzers. What emerged resembled a harmonic signature, a rhythm pulsing in perfect sync with the ship's electrical hum. It wasn't noise, it was communication. Every light on the ship flickered once, and when they steadied, Dr. Wren's computer displayed a single phrase: "We remember." The following night, the ocean's surface began to rise and fall without wind. The tide was answering a signal none of them could detect. Beneath the waves, sonar picked up patterns repeating in precise intervals, forming geometric sequences. Dr. Voss traced them on the chart table, realizing they matched ancient symbols found in Neolithic ruins, thousands of miles from any coastline. Something beneath them was reaching across time itself, mapping language into motion. And as she drew the final line, the ship's lights cut out, leaving only the low heartbeat of the deep. Just before dawn, Dr. Voss awoke to silence. The engines, the hum of generators, even the sound of the ocean, all gone. Outside, the sea was utterly still, reflecting the sky like polished obsidian. Then, faintly, she saw it. A vertical beam of pale blue light rising from the water's surface, directly where the wall should be. She ran to the deck, heart pounding, camera trembling in her hands. The beam wasn't just light. It was a doorway shimmering as if reality itself had thinned, and somewhere within it, she thought she saw movement. The beam of light hung above the ocean like a frozen scream, pulsing in slow rhythm, tethered to the abyss below. The crew gathered on deck, faces pale with awe and terror. The air hummed, resonating through metal and bone alike, each vibration a note in a language older than words. Dr. Voss whispered that the beam wasn't light. It was data. The wall was transmitting something upward, into orbit, or beyond. Dr. Wren recorded the spectrum analysis, and for a heartbeat, the numbers aligned with human DNA patterns. Whatever this was, it wasn't meant for discovery. It was remembering itself, piece by piece, and using them to do it. When the beam vanished, it left behind silence deeper than sound. The crew retreated inside, shaken and wordless. Hours later, the onboard cameras began playing footage none of them had recorded. Angles from beneath the sea, sweeping shots of the wall's carvings now glowing faintly with blue fire. The data timestamp claimed the footage was from 12,043 years ago. Dr. Wren froze the frame. A human figure moved across the carvings, breathing underwater. Its silhouette resembled her. Voss, down to the strand of hair falling across her shoulder. The wall was showing them something, or someone, from a time that shouldn't exist. That night, they couldn't sleep. The hull creaked with unseen movement, as if something vast brushed against it. Dr. Voss found herself drawn to the lower deck, barefoot and trembling, guided by a sound that wasn't quite a voice. The data drives she thought were destroyed now glowed faintly, pulsing in the same rhythm as the wall's carvings. When she touched one, the air filled with whispers. Fragments of language too ancient to comprehend. It wasn't speaking to her. It was remembering through her. By morning, Voss was different. She spoke less, listened more. Her pupils seemed to dilate even in daylight. She began sketching patterns on the walls of her cabin, circles intersecting in impossible symmetry. Wren confronted her, demanding to know what she was drawing. She didn't answer. Instead, she turned the notebook toward him, revealing not sketches, but precise architectural blueprints of the submerged wall. Measurements, inscriptions, alignments. Wren realized in horror that she hadn't drawn them. She had remembered them. She remembered them. At sunset, the ship's sensors picked up another anomaly. A second structure, deeper, larger, perfectly aligned with the first. The sonar display pulsed like a heartbeat, mapping its outline, an underground chamber sealed by massive slabs of stone. Voss stared at the screen and whispered, "It's opening." Before Ren could respond, the ship's lights flickered, and the sea beneath them began to glow, not from the wall, but from below it. Something older than history, awakening after 12 millennia of sleep. The ocean no longer felt like water. It vibrated beneath the hull, dense and alive, as though the ship floated over the slow exhale of something immense. The second structure pulsed below, its rhythm syncing perfectly with the crew's heartbeats. Dr. Voss barely spoke now. Her voice carried a strange resonance, like an echo of someone else speaking with her. Ren tried to lock the data channels, but the ship's systems kept opening themselves, transmitting encrypted bursts toward an unregistered satellite. "It's not data," Voss murmured, eyes unfocused. "It's memory." And the sea trembled as though listening. That night, the temperature dropped, without warning. Frost formed along the railings and the ocean's surface stilled into an obsidian mirror. From beneath, slow beams of light began rising, thousands of them, like luminous columns connecting sea to sky. The crew gathered on deck, trembling as the ship drifted upward slightly, lifted by unseen force. "Doctor!" Ren shouted for ballast adjustment, but no one moved. The stars above seemed to shift again, mirroring the pattern below, enclosing the Artemis II in a geometry that shouldn't exist. For a fleeting second, reality folded, and they saw something vast and architectural in the void between moments. Inside the ship, the walls began to hum, first soft, then deep, until every bolt and panel resonated with perfect frequency. The lights flickered and settled into a steady pulse matching Voss's heartbeat. Ren tried to shut down power manually, but sparks erupted from the panels. Every screen displayed the same sequence of symbols she had drawn days ago, rearranging into what looked like a doorway. Voss whispered that it was inviting them in. Chen begged her to stop, but Voss smiled faintly and said, "It remembers me." The storm came without sound. No thunder, no wind, just a rolling darkness swallowing the horizon. The ocean boiled with silent fury, bioluminescent light swirling beneath the waves like veins of electricity. Then, through the pitch-black mist, they saw it, a colossal arch rising from the sea, identical in design to the carvings on the wall. The structure was alive, reshaping itself in slow, deliberate motion. The ship's compass spun wildly. Every signal, every frequency, every instrument screamed the same message in binary. Entry granted. The sea opened. A spiral vortex of light swallowed the ship's reflection as the water drew inward. The arch above pulsed once, twice, then released a blinding surge downward. Voss didn't hesitate. She stepped toward the beam, her body dissolving into luminous fragments that drifted into the vortex. Ren screamed her name, running after her, but a wall of invisible force threw him back. The last thing he saw was her silhouette, serene and dissolving, merging with the shape below. Then, as suddenly as it began, the vortex collapsed. The ocean stilled. The Artemis II floated alone, its deck empty. Where she had stood the morning after the storm was unnervingly still. The Artemis II floated adrift under a gray sky, its hull scorched with strange crystalline residue. "Doctor." Ren awoke on the deck, his memory fractured, his voice raw from shouting into the void. There was no trace of Voss. No footprints, no equipment, no sign she had ever existed. Only the faint hum beneath the waves remained, resonating like the echo of a word that refused to fade. Lila found the data drive in the communications bay, its light pulsing weakly. When they played it, the footage wasn't theirs. It was from below, staring upward through water, capturing the ship as it drifted like an offering above the glowing gate. The recording continued long after the ship's systems should have shut down. It showed fragments, shapes moving beneath the wall, luminous veins spreading outward like roots through the dark. Ren enhanced the feed, tracing patterns across the seabed. Every coordinate matched tectonic fault lines across the globe, converging in one massive network. "She's trying to show us something," he whispered. But Lila wasn't listening. Her headset was picking up a heartbeat. Slow, familiar, coming from beneath the hull. As night fell, the hum deepened into a vibration that seemed to move through the air rather than sound. The ship's lights dimmed in sequence, one after another, until only the horizon remained visible. Ren stared into the darkness, gripping the railing. Then he saw it, a shimmer beneath the surface, like a reflection of the stars, forming a shape too precise to be natural. A silhouette emerged, human, glowing faintly, suspended just beneath the water. Voss. Her eyes opened, bright as fire beneath glass. She wasn't drowning. She was waiting. The figure rose slowly until her face was just below the surface, her eyes open unblinking. Ren called her name, but the water between them felt thick as glass. When he touched it, the temperature dropped instantly. Frost bloomed across his fingertips. The sonar system activated itself, mapping her shape with perfect precision. And then, from the speaker, her voice emerged. Calm, distant, layered in static. "The walls are waking," she said. They were never built to keep something out. They were built to keep something in. By dawn, the water's glow had faded. Voss was gone again. No trace, no temperature anomaly, nothing but still ocean. Ren sat motionless at the bow as the sun rose behind low clouds, the horizon burning in soft gold. He uploaded the final data logs, but the system rejected them, claiming they were already archived 12,000 years ago. Lila stood beside him, silent. The coordinates reappeared on the main monitor, blinking once before locking into place. Somewhere below, the hum began again, steady and patient. The walls had not finished remembering. 3 days passed without wind, without current, without sound. The Artemis II drifted in absolute stillness. A vessel caught between time and memory. Ren stopped sleeping. Lila stopped speaking. The ship's systems functioned on their own, quietly logging data. No one was collecting. At 2:17 a.m., the sonar lit up again, displaying a structure beneath them that hadn't been there before. It was circular, vast and pulsing with identical resonance to a human heartbeat. Voss's last words echoed in Ren's mind. They weren't built to keep something out, he realized then. They had never left the structure. The wall had closed around them. Karst, Skorks around them. Ren began recording messages, fragments of thought to anyone who might find them. His voice wavered as he tried to recount what had happened, but the words broke apart midway through, replaced by interference. Whispers layered beneath his own voice, speaking in reverse. Lila found him hours later, still talking, eyes glazed, lips moving to a language not his own. When she replayed the recording, she heard her own name spoken back, though she hadn't been in the room. Something was rewriting them, syllable by syllable, into its memory. That evening, the sky fractured again. A single beam of crimson light pierced through the clouds, its reflection spiraling across the ocean in slow rotation. Every compass aboard the Artemis II spun violently, and for a moment, the horizon folded into itself. From beneath, the wall began to shift, segments rotating into place like mechanical gates, unlocking. The ship vibrated with low resonance, each pulse echoing through Ren's chest. "She's opening it," Lila whispered. The sea erupted into red illumination as if dawn had been born beneath the world. At the center of the storm's light, a shadow began to rise. It wasn't solid. It flickered, fluid, shifting through shapes both familiar and alien. The sensors registered it as a void, an absence, not an object. Lila recorded every frame until her equipment froze, screen locked on a single image, a colossal figure made of intertwined light and darkness. Human only in suggestion. The water around the ship pulsed with rhythm, echoing the sound of breath. It was alive. And it was waking up. The ship's instruments failed as light consumed the horizon. Ren reached for Lila, but she was already moving toward the railing, entranced. The entity turned its vast gaze toward them, and for a heartbeat, the ocean fell silent. A single voice filled the air. Not human, not mechanical, speaking through every vibration of the ship. Memory complete. The water rose, enveloping the vessel, flooding every corridor in perfect silence. When the sea calmed again, there was nothing left. Only ripples spiraling outward, as if marking the closing of a circle 12,000 years in the making. Weeks later, the Artemis Taku was declared lost at sea. No debris, no signal, no survivors. Official reports blamed a pressure implosion near the mid-Atlantic ridge, though satellite imagery of the region was quietly erased within hours. But the ocean does not forget. Beneath its skin, the wall still stands, unchanged, unbroken, pulsing faintly in the deep. In a distant research facility, a new transmission begins without prompt. Coordinates identical to those deleted before, and attached to the file a voice. Calm, female, impossible. Begin retrieval protocol, it says. The voice of Dr. Eleanor Voss, speaking from 12,000 years below the surface. They trace the signal back to its source, deep below the coordinates once claimed by the Artemis Taku. The wall's geometry now spanned nearly 200 kilometers, growing outward in symmetrical rings. No seismic activity registered. The structure was building itself quietly, patiently. When the analysts increased signal gain, the static patterns rearranged into faces, blinking, shifting, whispering in a dozen overlapping languages. Among them was Voss, smiling, speaking words none of the linguists could decipher. The translation A produced only 2. Memory restored. At 3:42, the transmission changed. No longer data, but imagery, real-time video from miles below. The wall's carvings glowed like veins, and at its center, a human figure stood motionless within a luminous archway. It was, or what remained of her. Her body shimmered as though made of layered light and sediment. She turned toward the camera and opened her mouth, not to speak, but to release a flood of symbols, spiraling upward like liquid code. The feed ended abruptly. Every server in the facility shut down simultaneously. Outside, the tide receded for nearly 2 miles. In the following hours, strange phenomena spread across the globe. Compass needles drifted east. Deep sea cables vibrated in harmonic frequencies. People along coastal cities reported hearing low pulses rising from beneath the waves, steady, rhythmic, almost like breathing. Governments issued no comment. In the command center, Dr. Kellen watched a final data burst emerge on her screen. Embedded within the packet was a map, an intricate network of walls connecting every ocean on Earth, and in its center, a single phrase written in ancient proto-script. The memory of the world is awake. As dawn broke, the Atlantic shimmered like molten glass. Satellites captured the image for only a second before transmission ceased. A massive symbol forming on the ocean's surface, identical to the pattern carved into the wall below. Then the water stilled, and every sonar system worldwide fell silent. In the quiet, one final broadcast echoed across all frequencies, recorded by no device yet heard by every human ear near the coast. The voice was neither human nor machine. "We remember," it said, and far beneath, the ancient wall breathed once more.